What do you do when you're scared? What do you do when the storm is raging inside or outside and you're completely out of control? How do you make it through? I just heard a story last night that gives an answer better than any sermon I've ever heard. A couple decided to have their 2 little boys sleep downstairs in the living room next to their bedroom instead of upstairs, because the weatherman said that there were some big storms coming and there could be a tornado. Well, they said a prayer and went to bed and didn't think much of it until in the middle of the night their weather alarms went off. When they woke up, they knew that something was wrong. The lightning was constantly flashing, and the thunder was so loud, the wind was just beating against the house, and they're like, okay, this is real. So they ran to the living room and they grabbed their 2 small boys and they went to the center of the house and got into a closet. And by now the storm was bad. People who've lived through tornadoes talk about how a tornado sounds like a train, and they said it just felt like a train was just trying to crash into their house on all 4 sides. The roof was creaking, the wind was shrieking, the thunder felt like it was in the closet with them. The noise was so intense they could barely hear themselves crying. And the mother who wrote this post on Facebook said that she just felt so terrified. She and her husband were laying on top of their children, hugging them to themselves, trying to protect them in case the roof caved in on them. And then all of a sudden, the dad started to sing. He's got the whole world in his hands. And as he sang, the 2 boys joined in. He's got the whole world in his hands. And then the mom, holding her kids to her chest, shuddering in fear, joined in and sang, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. And they sang that song again and again. And they sang it louder and louder, fighting the fury of the storm with that simple song. He's got the whole world in his hands. And then it was over. The tornado was gone as quick as it came. And as they stepped out of their closet, their house was damaged, but they were alive. Other houses in their neighborhood had been flattened, but they were protected. So what do you do in a storm? What do you do when you're out of control and you don't know what's going on? Maybe you just sing a song. That's what David did. He sang and he wrote down those songs and they helped him. And that's what this little family did. And as I read that story, I got teary because I was in that storm and it wasn't as bad at my house. And we said a prayer and we were in our closet too, but I didn't even think about singing a song like that. But how awesome to be in a situation like that and to just say, you know what? He does have the whole world in his hands. And that's not saying that God sent the tornado, but that's saying that God is somehow still in control of all of this chaos as our world is falling apart around us. So last night, I did a crazy thing. And maybe you should do this too. But I was standing in the shower and I'm all by myself and I just quietly sang, he's got the whole world in his hands. And then I started putting things in my life that I'm worried about. He's got in his hands. And I thought about people in my life that I care about. He's got them in his hands. And I thought about some of the sins that I struggle with and my fears and my worries. And I sang them out loud, saying them. He's got that in his hands. And I went from frowning and shaking my head back and forth to actually laughing out loud. Like the burdens just fell off of my shoulders. What are you carrying around? What storm are you walking through? Let's follow the example of that courageous dad singing with his kids in the middle of a tornado. What if you sing, "He's got the whole world in his hands"? And what if you put your problems into that song and just sing in faith and look up and say, "God, you've got this"? Try it. Made a difference for me. It really made a difference for that family in the tornado. You know, it's time that we stop singing about our problems and complaining about the crap we're going through in our life and start to say, "He's got the whole world in his hands." Because he does. And when we step into that fact, we'll start to experience that peace and joy that he promises. Share this video with someone who needs to sing that song. And join me and sing that song today. God bless.